With regard to George Floyd, there's no excuse for what happened to George Floyd, and justice will be served. But there's also no excuse for the rioting and looting that followed. And I must tell you, this presumption that you hear consistently from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that America is systemically racist, and that, as Joe Biden said, that he believes that law enforcement has an implicit bias against minorities, is a great insult to the men and women who serve in law enforcement. And I want everyone to know, who puts on the uniform of law enforcement every day, that President Trump and I stand with you.
Last week, the President of the United States took a debate stage in front of 70 million Americans and refused to condemn white supremacists.
Not true.
And
not true.
It wasn't like he didn't have a chance. He didn't do it, and then he doubled down. And then he said, when pressed, stand back, stand by. And this is a part of a pattern of Donald Trump's. He called Mexicans rapists and criminals. He instituted as his first act a Muslim ban. On the issue of Charlottesville, where people were peacefully protesting the need for racial justice, where a young woman was killed. And on the other side, there were neo-Nazis carrying tiki torches, shouting racial epithets, anti-Semitic slurs. And Donald Trump, when asked about it, said there were fine people on both sides. This is who we have as the President of the United States. And America, you deserve better.
Well, our foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena, was watching this debate between Kamala Harris and Mike Pence, who are both vying for the vice presidential spot. We now cross live to her. I think she's on the phone. A very good morning to you, Sophie. What are your views on the debate early this morning between the two candidates?
My observation was that as much as many people were expecting the debate to be more heated and vibey, even though one was expecting that it would still be under control. It wasn't to be. And also, one thing that was quite disappointing was that the moderator herself allowed the two candidates not to answer certain crucial or critical or important questions. If I were to make one example, the question around the age of President Trump, but also the age of former President Joe Biden, and their views as vice presidents, the candidates for the vice president position. Have they had any discussions with the presidential candidates? None of them responded to that question. I don't know whether they couldn't get a question or it was deliberate, but it was quite disappointing. Two, yes, we knew that the focus was always going to be on the pandemic and also the issue of race, because currently in the United States of America, those are the two key issues. But above all, the issue of the economy is very critical. I didn't hear them outlining the manifesto of the two candidates in terms of the way forward, how the United States of America is going to embark on the economic recovery, because this is very critical for the world at large. Many countries are having strong trade relations with the United States of America. And if the United States of America is able to recover, by extension, other countries that have strong trade relations will also slightly recover. I didn't hear that. On the international issues or the foreign policy, even though they spoke about China, they didn't say much in terms of the foreign policy. Yes, of course, extending to Europe, Kamala Harris bringing in the tension between the United States of America and its former allies within the NATO also. G8, G7, G20, that, the tension there. But they didn't say much in terms of how are they going to ensure that this is improved should Joe Biden win the elections. But generally, it was a very calm debate. At some point in time, Kamala Harris had to call Joe Biden, Mike Pence to order in terms of him going on and on and on. One thing that I was also uncomfortable with, because the moderator didn't really, even though she tried, but she did allow Mike Pence to go on and on and on.
Do you think the debate gave the people of the U.S. enough to decide on who they will vote for?
Well, generally, many people have, their minds are made. They know exactly who they are going to vote for. Maybe a smaller percentage, you could still turn the corner, but generally it's a foregone conclusion in terms of people having taken a position in terms of who they are going to support. But what was important today was that you had a woman, and also a woman from a particular background who was there and trying to represent women in general, particularly women who are excluded based on their race, color, or gender. And she was there, and you could see the numbers when those who are tracking the polls released the polls, that many women were watching. And also in terms of prediction, in terms of the support as to who has won, you could see that Kamala Harris was very strong. She really had a very landslide victory in terms of winning the debate today, because a huge number of women were watching. And you can imagine if this is the situation right in the United States of America, clearly it is going to be very difficult for the Republicans to get votes from women. And therefore, I think for them, going forward, they will have to find a way to ensure that how they deal with this one. And I think for Mike Pence, it was a question of trying to undo Donald Trump's mess, but also not to upset Donald Trump. So he was caught in a very difficult position.
Let's thank you for talking to us this morning. Sophie Mokoena is the foreign editor here at the SABC News.